When Bruce Lee died at the age of just 32, he was virtually unknown outside Hong Kong. But the films he left behind have made Kung Fu famous. His physical prowess and extraordinary screen charisma overwhelmed the West and made him the world's first Asian superstar.
If you go to any small town in America today, you will see a church, you'll see a beauty parlor, and a karate school. Before Bruce, there was just a church and a beauty parlor.
Americans had stereotypes about what Asians were like, and he took those stereotypes and just turned them upside down on their head.
You know, he's got such intense desire to be good. He is not a natural athlete in a sense. He's small frame, you know, lightweight, but he becomes a superhuman being sheerly by sheer training.
A lot of people ask him, "Are you the best?" And he will always say, "If I tell you I'm the best, you know, you probably think I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm not, you know I'm lying."
Bruce Lee arrived in America in 1959. He'd been in trouble for gang fighting in Hong Kong, and his parents were worried about his future. They sent him to Seattle to live and work in a friend's Chinese restaurant. Bruce was 18 years old, self-confident and ambitious. He'd spent 5 years training as a martial artist in Hong Kong, and he was already fascinated by Kung Fu's philosophical teachings. In Seattle, he enrolled at the university to study philosophy. He was soon lecturing younger students.
Bruce used to come to my high school in Seattle, Washington, Garfield High School, and he used to lecture about Chinese philosophy in the philosophy class. And although I was not in that class, it seemed that the whole school knew when Bruce Lee came to Garfield High. And so we would often stand at the end of the hall and go, "Ooh, that Bruce Lee guy is here, you know."
Bruce set up a martial arts school in a basement in Seattle's Chinatown. In Hong Kong, Kung Fu was only taught to Chinese, but Bruce welcomed all races and backgrounds.
His speed was fast enough that you literally couldn't see the hands move, and he had a lot of little tricks he developed, gimmicks to demonstrate that. He would ask you to put a coin in the palm of your hand, and he would be standing 5 feet away, and he would say, "Now I'm going to take that coin from your hand, but as soon as you see me move, close your hand."
And the person would close their hand real fast.
You'd say, "Now you have that coin?" He'd say, "Yep."
So you think, right, I've beat him, you know.
You'd open it.
And it's a penny.
He had the coin.
This supermarket in Seattle is owned by one of Bruce's closest friends, Taki Kimura. He still holds classes in the gym downstairs where he was taught by Bruce. Taki was twice Bruce's age when he became his student. He had suffered years of racial prejudice. A Japanese American, he had been held in an internment camp during the Second World War. He lived in fear of discrimination. Bruce urged him to take pride in his Asian identity.
He began to talk to me and say, "My God, Camille, you know, get your hair cut differently. Look at those clothes you're wearing. I mean, they're just, you're just an old man at 36 or 37, whatever I was at that time." But I couldn't help it, you know, but he kept, you know, pumping me up with, you know, things like, you know, you're just as good as me, not any better. You're just as good as anybody else, not any better, not any worse.
In the 1960s, Americans still looked down on the Chinese. They were expected to be subservient. But Bruce had a very different vision of himself and his people.
He had a sense about himself and his worth that he wasn't looking for people who were going to discriminate against him or look down upon him for being Chinese. In fact, I think he would have thought that idea absurd.
In 1963, Linda Emery became a student in Bruce's Kung Fu class. She was 18, he was 23.
And really, I didn't think that Bruce would ever be particularly interested in me. You know, to me, he was the teacher and the showman and the magnet, so so to speak. But one day we happened to be practicing there in that grassy area on the University of Washington campus, and he was showing me a certain throw, and so he threw me down to the ground, and then he said to me, how would you like to go to the Space Needle? And I said, you mean all of us go to the Space Needle? Isn't that rather exotic? And he said, no, just you. And I was like, whew, be still my heart, you know. So I guess that was our first date.
Bruce's reputation as a martial artist was beginning to spread. In 1964, he was invited to California to demonstrate his skills at a major karate tournament.
I actually saw Bruce Lee's demonstration in 1964 at the Long Beach tournament held by Mr. Ed Parker. And I was really impressed with his speed, ability, and the way his personality. I was just fortunate to be there and to see his demonstration. And other people mentioned about the antiques for them. And I said, I was there. I saw that.
The assembled karate masters were astounded by his power and speed. Most of them had never seen Chinese kung fu before and were captivated by Bruce's display, and most of all by a new move he had developed, the 1-inch punch. Taki was Bruce's assistant.
He was able to generate that force that seemed to just come from the tip of his toes right out to the end of his extended hand. He could just hit you just like a high-speed bullet.
I always remember that moment when he did that 1-inch punch. I think a lot of people remember that punch. I mean, everybody is shocked, including all the karate or all the professional people over there. I mean, the power that this guy had. I mean, 1 inch, and the guy, boom, just flew to the chair. So it was very, very impressive. And that moment, and that punch, you know, then I know he's the man. And he will be the man. And will always be the man.
Linda hadn't told her family about her Chinese boyfriend. She had been seeing Bruce for almost a year when they decided to get married.
The plan was that we were going to elope and tell them later. We thought we knew everything, you know. And what we didn't know was that in the state of Washington, when you apply for a marriage license, there's a 3-day waiting period, and then they publish it in the vital statistics of the newspaper. We had no idea. And, you know, those very tiny little printed lines in the paper, whoever reads them anyway, except my maiden auntie, who happened to read it, and it said, Linda C. Emery to marry a Bruce Lee. And, well, so anyway, we were discovered. A big family powwow was held, and they wanted to dissuade us because, you know, it's quite a load to dump on my mother's plate that all of a sudden her 19-year-old daughter is going to run away and marry a Chinese man.
Her mother relented, and Bruce and Linda were married with a ring that they had borrowed for the afternoon. Within 9 months, their son Brandon was born. Bruce decided the time had come to take his wife and son to meet his family in Hong Kong.
It's a very exciting city. It really is. It's going all the time. The city is on all the time. And there's very many, you know, people are hurrying here and there all the time. And it certainly is a different culture than Seattle, Washington, where I grew up, you know. But it was very exciting and very exciting to learn about. And I didn't feel like a fish out of water. The family was very accepting of me. I think it was fairly unusual, both in the United States and in Hong Kong at that time, that we were a mixed couple. His family was quite accepting of it, though. You know, his mother had a small percentage of German heritage already.
Bruce Lee had been born on November 27, 1940, in San Francisco. His father, a Cantonese opera singer and film actor, was on tour in America when his wife gave birth to their third child. The boy was called Saifon, a girl's name to ward off the evil spirits who might steal away a male child. Later renamed Junfan, which means return again, the doctor on duty nicknamed him Bruce. In Hong Kong, Bruce made his first screen appearance at the age of 3 months in one of his father's films. He was already a successful child actor when he met Tony Liu.
好曳啊，成日整蠱我哋啊，即係當我哋僆仔啊。嗰陣時，我媽咪係黎文，佢就同佢爹哋啊，就好成日一日嗰陣時嘅粵語片咧，一日係3部戲啊、4部戲啊、7部戲都有嘅。咁啊，成日都喺片場就喺埋一齊。咁大家都係一個有陣時佢係小朋友演員，我係小朋友演員，大家就跟住媽咪一齊入去玩。咁佢係大哥跟住佢啊，有陣時玩埋一齊啊，做埋一齊啊。但係佢做好多嘢係即係佢都係惡晒㗎啦。咁我哋只不過係跟住佢後邊嘅小流羅靚仔咁樣啦。咁但係嗰陣時我哋已經係好崇拜佢嘅。
I went to same school, Bruce, but he's older than me. He's 7 years older than I am. The school is St. Francis Xavier, and at that time I haven't met Bruce, but everybody talk about Bruce Lee because he's a big bully. I always see that he get into fights and he always beat everybody up.
Bruce also had a reputation as a dancer. In 1959, he was crowned Hong Kong's Cha-Cha champion, but his first devotion was to Wing Chun, a style of Kung Fu which he studied under the master Yip Man. Kung Fu was never taught to Westerners. It was a Chinese secret weapon. When fellow students discovered that Bruce had a German grandparent, they refused to train with him. But Master Yip Man gave special training to his most promising pupil. Bruce loved to test his skills in real street fights and soon became known to the police as a troublemaker. So, when Bruce turned 18, his father sent him away to America. By the age of 23, Bruce was married with a young son. He dedicated himself to training. He wanted to prove to the West the power of Chinese Kung Fu.
He was never still. He was always busy, employing himself toward achieving his goals in life. So he was either working out or practicing his martial art, and we always had all the fellas over at our house, his students and friends that would come over and work out at our house. So our house was always busy with people around. We had equipment hanging off the rafters on the patio and in the garage and everywhere you might see. I was often the guinea pig. He would ask me to come over and stand in this pose or that pose or try out some techniques on me.
Bruce knew there was a way to bring Kung Fu to a wider audience. He set his sights on a film career, and in 1965 his chance came. A Hollywood producer had heard about Bruce from his hairdresser, who'd seen one of his demonstrations. Bruce was summoned to a screen test.
Now, Bruce, just look right into the camera lens right here and tell us your name, your age, and where you were born.
My last name is Lee, Bruce Lee. I was born in San Francisco in 1940. I'm 24 right now.
And you worked in motion pictures in Hong Kong?
Yes, since I was around 6 years old.
Show us some Kung Fu movement.
Well, it's hard to show it alone, but I will try to do my best.
All right, maybe when the fellas will walk in.
Yeah, it would be...
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Come on,
Okay. Although accidents do happen, but, there are various kinds of strikes. It depends on where you hit and what weapon you will be using. To the eyes, you would use fingers. Don't worry. To the eyes. Or straight at the face, from the waist, everything on. There is the finger jab, there's the punch, there is the back fist, and then low. Of course, then they use legs, straight at the groin, or come up. Or, if I can back up a little bit, they start back from here, and then come back.
All right.
It kind of works.
He has nothing to worry about. Now, once again, show us how a good kung fu man would very coolly handle it and walk away, rather than get involved in a series of actions.
Cut it down.
Okay.
At the age of 26, Bruce landed his first American acting role. The producers of Batman had devised a similar series, The Green Hornet, about a heroic duo. Bruce was to play Britt Reed's sidekick, Kato.
You think Jimmy Key will talk if it means endangering Mary's life?
No.
Obviously, Duke Slade and his Chinese friends don't either.
Okay, we've got Jimmy, they've got Mary. What do we do now?
There's one thing we can't do. We can't turn him over to Scanlon.
You are the new student. Come closer.
You cannot see.
In 1966, Bruce Lee moved his family to Los Angeles to be closer to Hollywood. He opened a new kung fu school in Chinatown. Dan Lee is now 76 years old. 30 years ago, he was one of the school's first students.
You think I cannot see.
Of all things, to live in darkness must be the worst.
Fear is the only darkness.
The dedication he has or training, it's in awe. I couldn't believe it. It's a day from morning to evening. He's systematically training the arm, the legs, this and that. And I was told that when he make left punches, how fast his punches are. Well, he did 2,000 punches a day. 2,000 punches. Now I tried one time, 500 punches. My shoulders worn out already. You know, it was so hard.
Bruce was developing his own unique style of martial arts. He was constantly innovating, studying boxing, fencing, and wrestling to create a more complete fighting system. He called it Jeet Kune Do, or way of the intercepting fist. Bruce was impatient for perfection. His temper could be explosive.
When Bruce get angry or something, he gets into different modes. And when it's all over, so he came back to his senses again. And Bruce just happened to bought some new 16-ounce boxing gloves. You know? So we just go on admiring in the kitchen. You know? And then all of a sudden Bruce says, let's give it a try. Dan, put the gloves on. I said, go, what, me? Put the gloves on? Yeah, put the gloves on. So all of a sudden, put the chairs away. We start sparring, you know. And of course I know this was just a test of gloves. It's not really for sparring. Then Bruce made a punch toward me, and from my boxing days, I just instinctively slip and counter, you know. It was so fast. I wasn't intending it. It was just my normal boxing. He said, boom, slip, hit. Now he got angry. You know, he's got frustrated. You know. So he started coming all on me. Boom, hitting, punching, you know. And I suddenly realized I'm fighting a monster here. He just keep on chasing me. He hit me, and I'm moving back off, and hit the kitchen table, and I was ready to put my hands over there, and I was ready to brace myself. Put my hands up, brace myself. Wow! I punched right in my chin. You know. But the next day, I was doing something, and I yawned. When I yawned, suddenly my jaw locked out. Locked out. I started yanking around, and finally found out, oh, that's got came loose now. And I went to see a dentist, and the dentist said, Dan, you got a big injury here. There's a little chip of bone chipped off. I said, Bruce Lee gave it to me.